Hello guys, and welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. So guys, in today's video we're going to be making an off shoulder under bust top, so you can see the picture showed to you earlier on. So this is my pattern paper here, and then these are the fabrics I'm going to be making use of. So I have my satin fabric. So the measurements that I'm going to be making use of are on the screen, so you can see the way I'm placing my tape, and then I have some lines on my pattern paper. So the lines, the first one, there's the shoulder line, and then I have my bust point line. So I place my tape 5 inches above. I have my under bust, the waist, and then the full length. So you can see the tape placed 5 inches above the first line. Okay, so that's how because it is an off shoulder. So the first thing we're going to do, let's draft out the back. So I'm placing my tape now. I want to take out my shoulder measurement. So since it is an off shoulder, I'll reduce 1 inch from my shoulder measurement. For instance, if your shoulder is 13, you can use 12. So I'll just place that, divide that into two, and then place it. So you can see the way I'm still placing the tape to take my armhole. So I came down by 8 inches, and then because my half of my armhole is 8 inches, so after marking it, I just extended it with a line that way. So the next thing, I want to add my bust measurement, divide by 4. So use your own applicable measurements. So I'm using the one I shared on the screen earlier. So after that, I want to create a curve. So yes, I've created a curve. So the essence of this curve is for me to be able to mark the bust measurement. So I'll just extend that downward to the previous bust measurement that I measured. So after this, I'm going to add my under bust measurement. So you divide your under bust measurement into 4, and then you place it on the under bust line, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and then add my dart measurement of about 1 inch, and then I'll add my stitching allowance. So for stitching allowance, you can use 2 inches, is okay, or 1.5 or 1 inch, so it depends on you. All right, so that I'll just join those lines now, join it now to the under bust line, and then work on the waist measurement. So divide my waist measurement. So these are my dimensions. I actually wrote them down on the pattern paper, what I showed you on the screen. So I'll divide that into 4, and then I'll just add it, and then add my allowance. Okay, add your my dart. So I'm still using that 1 inch dart, and then the next part is the hip line. So I'll divide my hip into 4. I'll place that, and then add the dart because it's going to extend, and then add the stitching allowance. So after that, I'm just going to mark it this way. So basically we are almost like done with the back. So the back is just like a basic bodice. Yes, so I'll just cut this off my pattern, and then the next thing, I want to add the dart. Okay, so for the dart, I'm going to use my bust pan, half of my bust pan, which is about 9. I added 1 inch to it to make it 10. So I just placed 5, divide by 2. I placed them on that line. So from that end, I came in by 5 inches. Okay, if you notice, there's no zip allowance on this piece. Yes, because I'm not going to add a zip. So I connected that line. I just drew it down 5 inches. So now I'm taking half inch out from each. I use 1 inch dart. So that 1 inch, I'm just going to connect it like that. Okay, and connect it like that. So I'll connect them. Yes, so that's that. After doing that, you have it like that. So the next thing now, for the neckline, well, I'm going to come back. So now let's draft the front piece. So drafting the front piece, so you can see I'm placing my tape is 5 inches above. This is like the most important part. So I'm just trying to relabel my lines. Okay, so at this point I realized that I did not add the waist line, that's the under bust line rather. So I'm trying to place my under bust. So from my shoulder to my under bust is about 14.5 inches. Okay, yes, so you can see my bust point is 11. So and then so that's, yes, that's the under bust line. So I'm just trying to double check all of the measurements to make sure that my bust point is 11, under bust 14.5. And then from this point now use that bust span measurement. Remember that bust span of 5 inches, so I'm just marking it across all the lines because we want to take out the dart first. So I mark it from top to bottom. So the next thing, I'm going to connect it with a straight ruler like this. So you can see I'm connecting it with a straight ruler like this. Okay, yes, so after connecting it with a straight ruler, the next thing I'm going to do now, I want to take out the dart. Okay, yes, so for this part you have to be very careful. Okay, yes, so now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use 1.5 inches. I'm taking out total of 2.5 inches, that, sorry, 3.5 inches, that, so I, on this part I'm using, on the under bust part, I use one, I came in by 1.5 inches, so I just place my pattern curve like that, and then I'm curving it into that part. And then on this part I used 1 inch, that's, so at the end of the day that's 2.5 inches. That's, don't mind me, sometimes voiceover can be confusing. Okay, so at the end of the day I use 2.5 inches. So for the top part I'm using 1.5 inch, that, so from that, for that top part I'm coming in by 1 inch, so I'll connect that line now to the top for the dart. And then on the other part I'm using about half of an inch, so I came into that part by half of an inch. Okay, so you can see the way the pattern is looking. Okay, we're still going to work on that. So for this down part I'm going to use 1 inch. Okay, yes, so I'm just maintaining the 1 inch now. On the right hand side I did not use the 1.5, I used 1, so you can see how the pattern is looking. Okay, yes, so now I'll come to the down part, that 1 inch, I'll bring it to the down part of my pattern, and then I'll just extend it with my ruler like that, so you can see what I am doing. Okay, yes, so after extending it now, so you can see my pattern looks okay to me. And then the next thing, I'm going to add my shoulder measurement, so I'll take out 1 inch from my shoulder measurement, and then I'm going to mark it on that point. So remember this 1.5 inch on our, on this top part that we use for our dart, so I'll replace that back into my piece. Okay, so that piece, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to, I'll just add half of an inch to it. So I'm trying to take out my armhole line. So for the armhole I just came down with about 4 inches, because I already took out 5 inch for the off shoulder, so just come down by 4 inch, and then really just mark it down straight that way. The next thing I want to do now, I want to place my bust measurement. So my bust measurement, I'll divide that into 4, I'll place it, and then add my allowance to it. Yes, so from that point I'm just trying to extend it, so I'll know where to place my armhole line. Okay, so I'll place it now, use that as a guide, and then I'll come to my under bust line, I'll add it. And remember we took out 2.5 inches for our dart, so I'll check it properly and then replace it back into the pattern. So I'll place that back into the pattern piece, and then I'll add my sewing allowance. Yes, so I'll add my sewing allowance, and then I'll connect it. So I'm just trying to be very meticulous there. So and then I'll come to my waistline, I'll add my waist measurement, divide by 4. I'm trying to check the dart. You remember that part is 2 inches, so put that 2 inch back, and then mark your allowance, your sewing allowance. Okay, so I'll mark it, so I'll just connect it that way. And then the hip line also, divide your hip measurement by 4, place it that way. And then on that point just add your stitching allowance and your dart allowance, and then connect, use my pattern curve to connect everything. So if you have any questions, please drop your questions. If you find this video helpful, please like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed to my channel already. You can send me a question, just drop it on the comment section, I will attend to it, don't worry about that. So the next thing we want to do now, I want to extend to mark my, like, my neckline measurement. So if you notice, like almost like a straight cut. So from this part, so I don't want it to be too deep, so I'm going to come down by 7.5 inches. So you can use 8 inches, which is your chest line, is absolutely fine. So because when I stitch, it's still going to extend down a little bit, so I decided to come in by 7.5 inches. So I'm just trying to arrange that 7.5 inches well, and then I'll connect it with a straight line. So if you want a straight neckline, at this point you have added it, but since I want it to be a little bit curved, so I just came down by half of an inch. So I just to like give it a little sweetheart, small tiny curve, not that big, so you can see it there. So after that, I'm cutting this off. So before we do the tightening on the piece, so now we want to do our over bust and under bust tightening. So for this part now, what I'm going to do, I'll come half of an inch. That's what I'm taking out, half of an inch. So you can take 0.75 or quarter of an inch. So after that, but me, I took out half inch. I know why I'm doing that. The reason is I want it to be very tight. Okay, that is why I'm doing that. But 0.75, half of an inch is fine. Okay, as a beginner, just go with that. That will be better. So for the under bust tightening, so this one I'm taking half inch from it because it's going to be snatched. I want it to be snatched, so you can see. So for this, you can even take off 1 inch also from it. Yes, if you really want it to be really tight, but my client, she does not want very tight, so I'm going to just do this. So after that, I'll just cut off what I have. So this, I'm just trying to double check to make sure. Okay, so now I want to put the under bust part. So that under bust, what I'm going to do on my under bust line, I'm just going to come down by 1 inch because this blouse is going to have a cut at that under bust. So that is why it is an under bust blouse. So you can see I came down by 1 inch. So that 1 inch was added to my length already, so my blouse will not get truncated. So I just came down from that point and then marked it. So now I can now cut off my piece. So you can see the way I'm cutting it off, to make sure that I cut everything off like this. And then after cutting, I'll cut it on the under bust area, so you can see this is how it's going. So the good thing with this pattern is that when you make this pattern, you can never go wrong. The bust area is going to be set, very setted, if I permit me to use that language. So for the back, I just came down on the what do you call it, the chest line by 8 inches, and then I marked it, and then I'm taking out 2 inch from the piece. Even though I did not add a zip allowance, yes, I cut out 2 inches from it because I'm going to be putting loops at the back. Okay, so that's the end for it. So I've transferred everything to my fabric. Thank you so much. If you find this video helpful, please hit on the like button.